Ready to get terrified, so to speak. It is my pleasure to welcome the Sinister Creature Con, Art the Clown himself, Mr. David Howard Thornton.
What's up? How are you doing, Sacramento?
How is your weekend going so far, man?
Awesome.
Awesome. Right on.
Happy to be here.
So, Terrifier.
Yes.
The only horror movie I've seen probably in the last 10, maybe 15 years where I said, holy shit, probably 5,000 times. Every decision that was made in this movie was like, they're not really going to do that. Oh my God, they're doing it. Holy shit, watch them do it. And you did it without saying a single thing, which is why Art the Clown is just incredibly badass, man.
Makes memorizing easy.
Like, what did you have going on that you kind of found that role? Because you didn't play Art for All Hallows Eve.
No.
So you found him in between. What happened?
The pure dumb luck. It was like, because this was my first real film. I had been like extras in films before, but nothing like this. And I moved up to New York to do like musical theater.
Right on.
Yeah, I toured with like How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the musical,
cool.
for like 5 years. I was the understudy for the Grinch. Our Grinch was the amazing Stephen Carl, who was Robbie Rotten on Lazy Town. And
right on.
Yeah, so that I learned a lot from Stephen. He unfortunately passed away last year from cancer. But so that's what I was doing, and I had taken about 4 months off after getting back from that last tour.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm just going to take 4 months off, because I was waiting tables all the time. Ugh. But tip your servers. Tip your servers, they deserve it. But yeah, so I'm going to take 4 months off just to audition, just focus on auditioning. And I was auditioning for a lot of like Broadway tours. I was like in like final callbacks for 4 different tours.
Oh, wow.
Like it was, but nothing stuck.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, what the? Okay, come on, put me in, coach, put me in. And it just happened. I came across this audition one day on this website called Actors Access. And they were looking for a tall, skinny guy with a clowning or physical comedy experience to play the quote-unquote role of a lifetime. Yeah. And I'm like, and I saw it was Art the Clown, and I had seen All Hallows Eve before that, so I was already familiar with the character. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm like, so I called up my agents immediately. I'm like, guys, you have got to submit me for this. I know I can knock this one out of the park. This is mine. This is mine.
Yeah.
So they submitted me. I went in there for the audition and knocked it out of the park. And it's really fun because like it's serendipitous, because if I had gotten in any of those tours that I was so upset about not getting, I wouldn't have either been able to audition for it, or I would not have been able to film it. So everything worked out the right way for me. So I'm like, cool.
Total meant to be moment. So
yeah.
So you get them. How many times did you watch All Hallows Eve? Because the mannerisms that you got it like down. You would not know, watching, Terrifier, All Hallows Eve, Terrifier back to back, that it was necessarily a different guy.
Oh, good. Because the original Art, Mike Gianelli, like he set the bar very high for me. So I mean, he gave me so much to work with. So I'm grateful I had someone to base things off of, because it would have been so hard coming up with like the character just by itself, because there's so many nuances to the character. But I'm like, he gave me a lot to play with, and so I just kind of just added my own elements to it as well, because Mike, I believe, really wasn't an actor per se. He was just a friend of Damien's. Like Damien's like, hey, you want to be my friend, man? He's like, okay. and so he didn't really have like the experience with like clowning and physical comedy. Like I grew up doing children's theater, so I honed my skills doing that. And I was a huge fan of like the old great physical comedians of like Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, Laurel and Hardy, Marx Brothers, Mr. Bean, Jim Carrey, Doug Jones, those guys. So I'm like a human sponge when it comes to that kind of stuff, especially comedy. I love really good physical comedians, so I'll just sit there and just take it all in. And that's what I did when I watched All Hallows Eve too. I just took it all in and just absorbed it all. I'm like, okay, I see what Mike's doing here with this. Now let me put my own stank on it and see what I can do with it.
So you get to set, you've got the part. Was it a trip? I would imagine it was. The first time that you are getting the makeup applied, and then you see yourself in the mirror for the first time. Especially with him being, you had watched this person, and now you're looking in the mirror, and here he is. Oh,
it was a geek out moment for me. Because like my first time putting on the makeup wasn't for my first day in filming. It was it's a funny story too. It was like when I had the audition, while I was in the room, they asked me to come back for a makeup test. I'm like, great, but I never heard anything if I had gotten the part or not. And so about a few months later, Damien sends me an email, hey, can you come in for the makeup test? I'm like, okay, cool. Well, this is a good sign. So I go in there and they put all the makeup on me, and I'm like, so does this mean I have the part? He's like, oh yeah. Like, no one told you? I'm like, no. And so I was like, this is amazing. So I'm one of these actors, I've done so many roles in the past where they've done crazy makeup jobs on me, and I like to sit in front of a mirror and just make faces. Yeah. Just to see what I can do, how it all reads when I'm wearing the makeup. And the type of prosthetic that Damien used for this, like this gelatin mold, it's full mask, and it allows for that full expression and range of emotions and everything. So I just sat in front of like his bathroom mirror, just like making faces for about 15, 20 minutes. They're like knocking on the door, Dave, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not doing what you think I'm doing in here. I'm making faces.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. And well, it was the most fun because we're doing this midday in Staten Island. And they had ordered pizza, and the doorbell rings. And they're like, hey, Dave, why don't you answer the door? I'm like, hell yes. So I answer the door. It's like some teenager. He's like, it's gonna be, oh, what the fuck? And I just stand there and just stare at him. He's like, man.
Did you get through the pain process, or did somebody have to come around and save the kid from Art?
Oh no, he was fine. He was fine. I also went out. They had the neighbors playing in their yard, like little kids, and I walk outside, and these kids see me. They're like, ah! Run away, and the neighbors got mad at my producer because they're his neighbors, and they're like, how dare you do that to them? I was like, no. I guess this works.
I mean, they came out in the era too. Art was introduced to us when that whole clown phobia thing was going on, which made him even more creepy.
Oh yeah.
For the longest time, you have Pennywise, and then you have being a kid of the 80s and 90s, Zebo from Are You Afraid of the Dark was terrifying.
Yes, Zebo, yes.
But Killer Clowns from Outer Space, but they're more lovable than anything.
Yeah. So
the scary clown was kind of a rare and in between, and then all of a sudden there's this black and white clown, and holy shit, he's black, white, red real quick.
Yeah. It's black, white, and red all over. Art.
How much fun did you guys have with the practical effects makeup in this movie?
Oh, that was probably one of the most fun, interesting parts of it all to me, because I'm a huge geek when it comes to seeing how things are made and how things are done. It's like when I was doing theater growing up, if I didn't get cast in a show, my dad's and my mom were like, why don't you go work tech?
Yeah.
So you understand all aspects of what's going on.
Right.
So I work tech, and so I've always been one of these people fascinated how things work behind the scenes. And so it was really cool because Damien, not only did he write it and direct it, he also did all the practical effects by himself. So, he would do my makeup, then he'd go direct, and then he'd come back and he'd be on the side, putting individual hairs into one of the heads that we're using for a kill scene for later on. And it's just the amount of things he was doing, and that's what we did. We relied on the old school practical effects for the blood pumps, all the trying to hide the hose any way I could with my skinny ass arm, but it's like, well, good luck. You might have to digitally remove that, but that's the thing, we didn't want to add a lot of CG into it. We didn't, because you can tell when there's CG used in the films. There's something, even though it might look a little bit more fake with a prosthetic, it's something that's tangible and it's there, and that's something that people are actually interacting with, and I love it as an actor because it gives me something to work with. Like when we had blood spraying everywhere, we actually had blood spraying everywhere. So
Yeah.
you didn't have to act like you were getting hit by. You actually got hit. And you're like, oh god. So that's what's fun. I think that's what's lacking in a lot of films now too. Keep trying to go that easy route instead of actually trying to be creative with those
Yeah.
because that's what I loved about the older films from back in the 70s and 80s. Like you look at that transformation scene in An American Werewolf, and it's just
yeah.
like that's amazing. And like you
Right.
see, I mean, I haven't seen a good werewolf transformation as good as that.
No, yeah.
There's like as much CGI as they do now, and that's what I love about all the practical effects, and we totally intend to keep doing that in Terrifier too. So it's,
Right on. Yeah. I mean, the fact that he is not necessarily all the way known after that ending scene in Terrifier. We get the the kind of supernatural, the radio's going on and stuff, and then he sits up. So is he human? Is he like a Jason character? Is he like exactly is Art the Clown demonic?
It's okay. We'll find out in the second movie, right?
you'll find out eventually. It's like, I mean, I will say that in Terrifier, he's human.
Yeah.
He has, he's human. He's able to be killed, and he didn't know he was going to be brought back. So that's what I love, that whole thing of him killing himself. It's like he went out on his own terms, and he's like, oh great, now I'm back.
Does he know that? Does he, or did you know that rather when you filmed that scene?
Yes.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we did Terrifier, we already had in mind that we at least wanted to do a trilogy.
Oh wow.
So yeah.
Right on. With this, when you got on board with Damien, was it pretty much laid out that he was like, I want this character to have a franchise from the get-go? You're now Art. Are you going to come do this with me?
That was our hope.
Yeah.
I mean, we were trying to be realistic about it all, because we were like, we're just a small, extra low budget film,
Right.
that we're doing in New Jersey and Staten Island. We don't have any Hollywood support at all. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to be realistic with ourselves. Like, we think we had something cool.
Yeah.
But we're like, well, you never know.
Yeah.
So, but that's something we hoped would happen.
So with that, with no budget, I know being a film student, like filming on no budget it's hard to get
It's hard.
locations and everything like that. And
Yeah.
so did you guys know like who owned the pizza parlor, or like that's a hard pitch?
Yeah, I imagine, like, I think our producer had connections with the people that owned it. Like, all these were real locations too. That was not set dressing in those buildings. That was like, that bathroom really looked like that. It was just like, there was like that floor when I'm lying down for the Buffalo Bills scene, when I come up all this. The first time I lied down, I came up and like my whole everything that had touched the ground was completely black. I'm like, oh God! Like that building had no running water, nothing like that. So I basically had to take a horse bath every night to like take off the blood. We had like bottles of water that New Jersey, like well water that I was having to like just like ah. I was like, I don't know. I think like probably the cure for cancer and every illness is probably in that building. So.
How much of a radius was the pizza parlor to the building?
Well, we actually filmed, like, the main building was actually filmed at a few separate locations, because we originally filmed it in Trenton, New Jersey.
Yeah.
But then we had some setbacks with the guy that owned the building I don't want to get into, because...
Yeah.
But, so we filmed the rest out on Staten Island at this place called Seaview Mental Hospital. So, like, the tunnels and stuff, those were the tunnels they used to bring all the TB patients after they died, and, like, the room where both I strangle Victoria... And you can see the ovens right next to the side of the big, huge openings. So
Yeah.
that's where they burned all the dead bodies and stuff like that.
Oh, my God.
Like, we were looking around. I'm like, is that a femur on the ground over there? Who am I breathing in right now?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, my God. But add to the creepiness. So I was like, this is cool.
Yeah. What was your favorite kill? Because there's a bunch.
Yeah, there's a
good
bunch
ones.
of kills. I mean, most people would probably think the hacksaw.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that was fun. But I kind of like the decapitation of the exterminator myself because there's a fun story behind that. Plus, it was fun to do because that was like pure old school prosthetics that we're using, different neck appliances and stuff like that. The blood pumps, the hoses everywhere, and just blood everywhere that night. There was so much blood in that room that night. Poor guy didn't bring a change of clothes either, so he had to go home with his underwear all covered in blood. I'm like, oh no, Mike. But that's the thing is Mike. This is the thing I love about that scene. Is it's an Easter egg.
Yeah.
Because Mike Levy, the actor that plays him, and the two cops that come in, his brother Jason, their other friend, they're part of this film company called Fuzz on the Lens Films. They're the guys that started the whole scary clown craze on Staten Island, where the clown was just standing out there in public and freaking people out. Mike was the Staten Island clown, so it's a fun little Easter egg. It's like I killed the Staten Island clown in this. And I think their crew's gonna help us film part 2. So I'm excited about working with those guys again. They're awesome dudes. So I was like, that's why I love that kill so much. It's got its own little Easter egg in it, and it was a gnarly kill too. So
yeah, no, there definitely was. It was very Friday the 13th.
Oh yeah, it was fun popping that head off because I only had one go with it. It was like how it had like the little muscle ligatures and just that snap. I'm like, I can't fuck this up. We only had one go with this. We only had one prosthetic.
Your mannerisms, and I know you've had some acting experience doing like DC characters, Joker, and
oh yes, I love the Joker.
And you were on Gotham and stuff, but
Yes.
your smile, art smile, is very Joker-esque. Was there some inspiration from him?
Oh,
big time?
yes. Oh, yes. I mean, not only did I, base art off of like those great physical comedians, I based him off of so many of the horror villains of old, like Freddy, Jason, all these. There's a little bit of all those guys in art. You can look and you can find even like Norman Bates in him at times. There's little bits and pieces. I look at like art is basically a love letter to slashers. He is like the ultimate slasher fanboy in a lot of ways, I guess you could say. And so, but of course, I put a little bit of Joker into him too. I mean, that was all. I got to put a little Mr. J into it. Is that you can't have a killer clown without Mr. J.
You ever have a slip up and say something?
Not really on set, like when because I would try my best to stay completely silent because I wanted to add as much realism to it especially for the other actors and stuff like that. But as soon as they said cut, I was like, oh, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
They could never shut me up otherwise. I think that's why Damon's always like, okay, action. Like
If you were gonna do an art versus somebody kind of a movie, Terrifier versus whomever, who would you want? Who would you want him to go up against?
I would love to see him go up against Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
I mean, most people would think I would say Pennywise, but like, that's too typical. Because I consider Art to be the bastard child of Harpo Marx and Freddy Krueger. So I'd like to see that matchup because Freddy is my favorite horror villain of all time because I think he's such a creative villain.
Yeah.
And they both have that weird, sarcastic, sardonic, just dark sense of humor about the two of them. And I would love to see that just go up against each other like that.
So with Terrifier 2, can you tell us when you guys are planning on starting? I know it's pretty quick, right?
Yeah, well, we've secured our base funding, so we can start doing the film. We're still not a big budget film by any means.
Yeah.
Because we're doing it ourselves still. We don't have studio support, so we've just got a few private investors and stuff like that. But that gives us the freedom to do what we really want to do with it. We don't have studio cracking down and going, no, you can't do this, no. Because we know for you guys, we don't want to pull back from what we did in part 1 because we want to give you guys what you're expecting. We want to give you those over-the-top kills. We want to give you the gore, all the violence, all the fun that's in it. And I think if we had a studio behind us, they would be telling us not to do a lot of the stuff we want to do. And this script is nuts.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, some of these kills I wish I could tell you. Yeah. So it's like, but yeah, so we're going to hopefully we're gonna do we're gonna launch an Indiegogo campaign in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
just to raise some more money for this, especially for this one big huge scene that we want to do in the film. That's basically a big huge kill scene. A lot of bodies are going to hit the floor in this scene, and we're going to put some good incentives in there for everybody to donate and stuff like that. And so every little bit that we get is going to help us make the movie bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Do what we really want to do. It gives the freedom to do what we really want to do. But we're going to aim for filming this fall in October. I think we're going to start filming, and we hope to get it out to you guys next October, because it still takes place on Halloween, and we really would love to this time release it around Halloween instead of March like we did last year. So it's exciting.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say we'll open up to questions here.
Yeah, if anybody hasn't really seen Terrifier, how would you describe it? And, well, how would you describe it to see
I would say it is a big, huge love letter to the slashers of the 70s and 80s. It's like we have all that, it's light on plot, but heavy on the gore and the action, and it's our love letter to horror fans.
It's interesting that you said.
Yes, smart kid. I pissed off Ronald McDonald one time when I was a kid, so he was scared of me.
How did you piss off Ronald?
I don't know if you remember, but back in the 80s, Ronald McDonald used to go around to McDonald's all throughout the nation, and he would do little shows and stuff like that. And so he came. I'm from Huntsville, Alabama originally, and he came to Huntsville. I did magic as a kid. I did a lot of magic tricks. I knew how these tricks worked. And he calls me up on stage with him, and he was doing the collapsing wand trick.
Yeah.
And he kept spitting in my face when he was talking. And I was just like, I didn't come here for a shower, man. And so he hands me the wand, and I don't let it collapse. I knew how the trick worked. And he's like, let's try this again. He gives it back to me, and I'm just like, and you could just tell he's getting pissed. And he's like, okay, you come up, you sit down. Of course, my mom's like, David Howard Thornton. I'm like, he kept spitting in my face, Mom. So I like to say, I pissed off Ronald McDonald. Like, woo!
Go ahead, yeah.
The scene when you're wearing the wig and semi-nude walking, how was that shoot?
That was an experience. The thing about that, it wasn't written in the script to be that way. It was I was supposed to wear all of that over my clown costume, and Damien comes to me 2 days before we filmed it, and he's like, I have a crazy idea. And I'm like, what? He's like, why don't you do that naked? And I'm like, who wants to see my skinny ass naked? But then I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? That would be really freaky, especially with my frame and everything like that. I'm like, that would be messed up. That's because I call it my Buffalo Bill scene. And so and I also looked at it this way. I looked at what Catherine, who played Dawn, was having to go through with the hacksaw scene. It was she's having to expose herself in such a very, very interesting way, I guess you could say, because we didn't sexualize that scene at all, but still, it's what she had to go through. It was a very cold night. It was 20 degrees in that room that night we filmed, and she's having to hang upside down like that. We'd only let her hang upside down for 30 seconds at a time, but still, we tried to make it as comfortable as possible, but it wasn't fun for her. And I'm like, if Catherine's going to go through all of that, then I can show my butt if I have to. And so that's what I did. And so it was fun for me, not as much fun for the crew. Those poor guys, they weren't. I don't think they were going into this hey, we're gonna see his naked butt all night. And so I tried to, I like to keep things light and on set and stuff like that with all the crazy stuff we're doing. So I was joking around so much. I was singing different songs about butts every time I had to go back. Moon Over Parma or Baby Got Back, stuff like that. But there's also a fun story behind that day too. Where, I guess I can say this in here, there are not too many young minds in here, but Damien calls me up the day of filming that morning. He's like, hey, David, you got a cock sock. I'm like, a what? A condom? He's like, no, not that, no, a cock sock. Bring cock sock with you, he said. I'm like, oh, that's just something I have just lying around in my apartment. This is what everybody has. He's like, no, just bring a sock with you so you can cover up your junk and stuff like that while we're filming. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't think. And so I show up with this bright white tube sock. Because I don't know if you noticed, but I'm not just wearing her boobs and her hair. I'm also wearing her vajayjay. So I had to glue all that, and I had to hide everything behind it. And, well, you know, some things are hard to hide. And so I have this bright white tube sock, and I just come out, hey guys, and they're like, oh no, no, why'd you bring a white one? You should have brought a black one. I'm like, you racist. It's like I get what, so like I think that's like one of the few bits of CG they had to do in the film was like to hide the white, showing that bright. It's like, here you go, because I couldn't do a Finkel Einhorn thing like tuck it behind me or something like that. It's like no. So that was an experience for all of us that night. It's like, and that was also my first night working with Samantha, who played Victoria. So that was interesting. I'm like, hi, I'm David, and these are my boobs. And she's like, and that is awesome. And I'm like, and you are awesome, and we're gonna have fun together.
Go ahead. Yeah. Hat right here.
I think the soundtrack's amazing.
Oh, thank you. That's all Paul Wiley. You know, he's Marilyn Manson's guitarist. He did a heck of a job coming up with that. I was like, this is awesome. I have a theme song. That's so freaking cool. I'm like, it has that nice 80s sound to it. I'm like, yeah. I loved it. Paul's a cool guy too.
Total slasher sound.
Oh yeah. It's like the music makes so much. It does so much for a film. It's like you get some good music in there. You had his music, and also I like to advertise her because she's my cousin. Her band Thanks was like some of the other instrumentals you heard in there. So they're broken up now. They all got married and went off and did their own life stuff. So I'm like, but you know, they get to live on in the film. So I was like, that's so cool.
It was interesting. There was an interview I was listening to. It was Carpenter, and he was just talking to another actor, Jared Harris, about filmmaking and acting, and he was talking about how if you take the music out of Halloween, it could still be considered eerie, but it's not necessarily that scary.
That's true.
But you add that score to it, and Michael becomes terrifying.
It is so true. Music adds so much,
Yeah.
and not just in horror, just movies and even like stage shows as well. You just add a little bit of music. I did a show in college one time, and it wasn't even a musical, but we had a band down there. They were just underscoring all of our scenes, and it just added so much. It helped us as actors too, gave us stuff to work off of. You know?
Yeah.
So it was awesome. Music is an amazing thing.
Yeah. It's all the way up to like the major motion pictures. There was
Yeah.
like Chris Pratt behind the scenes of Infinity War was like, I'm listening to the score in my headphones right now, and it's awesome.
That's so cool. It's like you look at John Williams' orchestrations, is like, you know, what he's done for all those films. It's just like, oh.
Anybody else got a question for David?
We got.
One interesting thing about the original is the girls don't take you seriously at first, like they're taking selfies and stuff. After the events of the first movie, will it be hard for people to underestimate how scary you are? It seems like, you know, like they'd see you and they think you were kind of a joke.
You'll find out. We intend to have another like a diner type scene in this film, so that's one scene I'm very excited about filming because it's going into this one is like Damien and I collaborated a lot this time because like when I auditioned for Terrifier, he didn't know who I was, so he'd already written the script. So this time he knows what my style is. So we call each other all the time like, hey, I came up with an idea, and we just bounce ideas off. So like there's a lot of times in the script where he's like written ideas, but he's like, this is a scene I just want you to play. Just see what we come up with in the moment. I'm like, yes. And that's one of those scenes I'm just going to have so much fun just playing around with stuff. It's just like, oh, it's exciting. So exciting.
Over here, yeah.
I'm just curious, have you seen Halloween 2018? What did you think about Mike Myers fighting off the kills?
I have. It's like, I liked it. I mean, I took it as a nice tribute to us. And like, 'cause I mean, we wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for Mike Myers. So for them to imitate us, I'm like, that's freaking awesome. So yeah, thank you, Mike. It got people talking too. It's not just that. He also does the curb stomping with the head too. So I was like, hey, they're all in the same few minutes. So I was like, okay, I see what you're doing. Game on, bitch.
Yeah, Art.
What's your favorite art comic?
My favorite is Terrifier, but I'm biased.
Was there a horror film when you were a kid that like got you into the genre, scared the pants off you?
Yeah, it's odd because I was a little bit late to the game because my mom was a big chicken shit when it came to horror films. She thought not Haunting a Hill House, but it was Fall of the House of Usher, the old one.
Yeah.
She thought that was the scariest movie she had ever seen. And so we just did not watch horror in my house. My dad would like watch it late at night or something like that, so I'd occasionally like sneak in and see little glimpses, and but I never had sat down and watched horror because my mom had scared me. Oh, these are scary movies, So like how that is with your parents can sometimes influence how you think about things. So it wasn't until like my senior year of high school, which is kind of dating me now, but that's when Scream 2 came out, and I was doing a show, and like a lot of the cast wanted to go out and see Scream 2, and this one girl I had a crush on, the cast wanted to go. I'm like, okay, I gotta go. And I was like, I can't just be chicken. And all I was like, come on, Dave. I'm like, okay, I'm going. I had no idea how I was gonna respond, and I loved it. I had so much fun. I thought like Scream was a good way to like just bring me into horror films, and I loved it. And after that, I was like. My roommate in college, he was one of my best friends from high school, but he's we're from Alabama, so he's from those very religious Southern Baptist families. They're basically the Flanders. His family is the Flanders. They're just so they're just so they give you diabetes being around them. It's just like they're so sweet and innocent. And he had never seen a boob before. And he found my stash of Playboys one day in college. He's like, oh my God, these are what they look like? So this is how innocent he was. And so we decided like, hey, let's just rent, we don't have our parents around us anymore. Let's go and like just start renting all these horror films. So we would go to like movie gallery on the weekend and just rent like a whole stack of tapes, and we'd just watch them all weekend, just binge watching, just trying to make up for lost time, and it was so much fun. So much fun. So that's how I got versed on like Freddy, Jason, all those guys. It was making up for lost time. It was well worth it.
All the way in the back, yeah.
Has your parents seen Terrifier?
Well, unfortunately, my mom passed away back when I was in college, so she hasn't. But I imagine if she was still alive, she was like, I love you, but no. My dad, I don't know if you've seen it or not. I gave him a copy of the film, but like I know he would enjoy it. But like my stepmom's very, very conservative. Like she doesn't like that kind of stuff. And she kind of like has got him tied around her finger, so I don't know if he's seen it yet. But my sister, who's mentally and physically handicapped, she lives in a group home in Alabama, and it's fun. It's a very religious group home too. And they watched it one night. She calls me up. She's like, so good job. I'm proud of you, but what the? It's like that's wow. I'm like, yeah. It's like, that's not my baby. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Anybody else have a question? Yeah, go ahead.
I think funny if you get the rights to have him kill off the next
Kill off who?
on the next movie. Get the rights to McDonald's.
Oh, have him kill Ronald McDonald.
Gets him back for all the people he's killed.
Yeah.
Diabetes. Oh God, yeah, it makes me grimace.
Art can make his way up the line to Ronald. That could be the whole.
Oh,
movie.
that would be fun. Just go through the whole McDonald land, like Merrimack
Hamburglar,
Cheese, all those
yeah.
guys. It's like those, even the rare, like the obscure characters, like the old professor that people forget about.
Yeah,
and
or
stuff
Green
like that.
Grimace for the Shamrock Shake.
Yes. Oh yeah, the Green Grimace. I forgot about him. Yeah. Oh, the McNugget buddies.
He had a drink.
Yeah.
The McNugget buddies, yeah. I got a couple.
Him. Yep. Gotta have him.
McDonald's
Wow.
always had the one thing they did win. They always had the dopest kids meal buckets during Halloween.
Oh, they did, especially when the ones that glowed, like they would glow in the dark and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
the ghost, yeah.
Yeah,
That
that
was
the ghost
awesome.
and the witch and all that. I was like, oh man, kids today have no idea.
Dude, they really don't.
They
Try
have no
being
idea.
a day trade a high school teacher. They don't know what horror movies are.
No,
Like, sadly.
these youths today.
That's what makes I think that's what makes Terrifier so awesome when it came out, because a lot of people, I know my experience to art was All Hallows Eve, because they had that poster on streaming services and it was just All Hallows Eve and he's there smiling above it. And then when I found it, Terrifier was already there too. So it was like, okay, there's two. So there's got to be something worth watching in All Hallows Eve to see what he does in Terrifier. And All Hallows Eve, that's a what the fuck movie in itself. And then we get to Terrifier, and there was stuff, not only was it like refreshing in that 70s slasher sense as a fan, but there's just stuff I had never seen before.
Yeah. And it's hard to do now because so much has already been done. That's like Damien and I will be coming up with kills, and he's like, I was like, hey, why don't we do this? It's like, oh, they did that in Killer Clowns. I'm like, son of a.
Yeah.
It's like trying to come up with new things is hard.
Do you guys just round table it, or what do you guys do for that?
Yeah, like he and I, and sometimes like our producer or DP will just sit there just bouncing out. We did that even like when we were at a convention 2 weeks ago, we just stayed up talking about 2 o'clock in the morning, coming with ideas for part 3, like how we're gonna tie things in and stuff.
Right,
We're
right.
still evolving things and like finding new fun little nuances to add to different characters and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
but it's fun. I love doing it. It's like
That, yeah, your facial structure that you emote with the cowl on, it is very cool to see. Like you're cracking yourself up, or when the gun doesn't go off, and you can just be like, oh god damn, but you don't say anything. You do such a good job, man, in verbalizing what you're saying without saying it. It's really cool to watch.
Oh, that's what I love about the characters. I get a chance to do that. That's what sucks for Kane and those guys when they're just stuck behind a mask, and so you can't see. They have to like Kane would have to use his shoulders
huffing,
to
right.
act. It's like I love having that freedom to really use my face, and
Right.
even though I'm not speaking, it's like I'm able to tell stories just with my face. You can and I think that's what I think what people like about art too is like he has those human qualities, so you can relate to him in some ways. Like when he gets frustrated, you can see it.
Yeah.
Like when he gets annoyed or he gets excited about something, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
oh,
No,
someone's gonna die.
Terrifier, I think, raises the bar as far as gratuitous violence kills.
Just a little bit.
Do you raise it again in Terrifier 2?
We're hoping to. That's the thing. We're like, oh god, with the hacksaw scene, we're like, oh boy, did we set the bar too high? Oh jeez, how we get? But we have an idea for this one kill, especially that we're doing this. It's gonna be it's one of those things that we've. What he originally written is pretty gruesome, and then we've come up with ideas since then just to make it even worse. We're like, good God, are they going to even allow us to do this?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's almost cruel, but in a fun way, because it still has art's little mischievousness behind it. Because that's what I love about the guy is like, he revels in what he does. He's not doing out of revenge or anything like that.
Yeah.
He's doing it because he just enjoys killing people.
Yeah.
And he has fun doing it. He thinks it's hilarious watching people suffer, and I think that's kind of demented in its own way.
Oh, definitely.
And that's how this scene is. It's just like, oh my god, this is so sadistic, but it's so funny in a weird way too. It's just
Yeah.
like, that's horrible, but
We have time for one last question. Does anyone have one last question?
I'm a Sagittarius.
Right. You go ahead.
I know I said something earlier, but after Art kills a character, taking a long distance to play jump rope with
I gotta keep my mouth shut. I gotta keep my mouth shut.
It's a good. That's a good teaser for us to move it on and look forward to Terrifier 2 with man. But thank you for coming
You're
to Sinister
welcome.
Creature Con.
Thank
Go see David at his table all weekend. Go say hi.
And thank you all just for your support of us, because we would not be where we are if it weren't for you guys getting the word out. So I'm like, thank you. Part 2 is a big, huge love letter to you guys. So.
Thank you.